My remake of LEGO LOCO is taking shape nicely, but the cities are pointless without minifigs to populate it. So let's get those in the game. Hello and welcome back to the devlog for my remake of LEGO LOCO, a classic sandbox city builder from 1998. In the last episode I got the foundations going with the building system so the minifigs have somewhere to live, but now it's time to bring the minifigs to life, starting with their sprites. So the minifigs all have two sprite sheets for their overworld look and their more detailed one, and I needed to slice all of these up into their frames, so I spent absolutely ages taking the background off, setting the correct import settings, and slicing them in Unity's sprite editor. I was using the slice by column to break them up, but as some figures have more sprites than others for special interactions, I had to actually make sure the count was correct. I couldn't just copy and paste the same number in. But after a while, I got all of this done. So I had every single sprite for all of the minifigs with each frame nicely sliced. I then tackled the scriptable objects. So I first had to think of every part of the minifig that needed to be stored in here. Some basic parts like the name for the fig and the base sprite are pretty obvious, but then I had to think about how I'm going to control the animations and inspect sprites. For each minifig there's 4 inspect sprites, which are used to display their current emotion. So if they're walking about, they're happy. If they're stuck somewhere, they're crying. It's pretty simple. And as all of them on the sprite sheets are in the same order, I just stored these in a list. And then can say that 0 is angry, 1 is sad, 2 is middle, and 3 is happy. But the animations are a whole lot more complex. But at the same time, they're actually very simple. By using Unity's animation controller for a generic minifig, I can use animation override controllers that's stored in the scriptable object to replace the base clips with sprite-specific ones. And let me tell you, setting all this up took a long time. The first thing to set up was the base animation controller. So the animations from the game are, as I understand it, idle, waving, crying, walking in different directions, and then some of the minifigs have unique animations that can also play, like the station master with a watering can. I don't exactly know when that comes in, so I'll just add that wherever I feel like it. In a blank animation controller, I created the base states for all of these animations, set up the transitions and parameters, and made empty clips to be replaced by an animation override controller. This is what each minifig will have, replacing the base clips with their own unique ones. As I wanted to look as close to the original as possible, I slowed a recording of the game's animations down to determine the frame rate, and it seems like it's 8 FPS, so that's what I've gone for. I set the sample rate for each clip to 8, and then it was time to create all of the animations. So there are 37 unique minifigs in the game, and each one has 7 animation clips, so that's 259 animations that I need to set up. Brilliant. So I started by duplicating the base folder, adding the minifig's name to each file, so idle becomes farmer_idle, so on. I then had to drag each of these clips into the override controller in their respective places, and give the minifig in the scene that controller to then start animating. For each clip I went through frame by frame selecting the correct sprite. For the most part, the minifig sprite sheets are ordered in the same way, so that wasn't too big of an issue, but some sprites are really obscure and it was hard to figure out which clip they belong to, so I just improvised when I couldn't figure it out. What's funny to me is how the original game would have gone about animating these sprites, because it was obvious that they wrote some code that sampled the sprite sheet to say grab the first 12 sprites and loop them for the horizontal walk cycle. But when they had a character that doesn't actually move, like the baby, they just repeated the same sprite over and over again. This leads to the baby having 36 different sprites, but only 3 unique ones, and the rest are just the same thing copied and pasted over and over again. This would have made sense to the game, but it's not exactly the most elegant solution nowadays, so for clips like that, I just set it to a single sprite and ignored the duplicates. This whole process took me such a long time, because it's just the same actions repeated over and over again, and it was tedious to go through. Each minifig probably took me about 5 minutes in total, start to finish, so this probably only took about 3 hours. But I didn't do it in a single sitting, because that would have just melted my brain, so I kept leaving and coming back, chipping away at the list, but hey, it's all done now, and I don't have to do it ever again. Except I haven't actually done the animals or vehicles yet, and they're basically the same method as the minifigs, so I guess I still have that to look forward to. But right now, let's move on to getting the minifigs spawned into the city. So each building needs a list of minifigs that it can spawn in over time, and the easiest way to do that was just to add it to the building's scriptable object. and for the most part, they all make sense. The houses can spawn the more generic characters, the unique buildings like the police station and post office spawn their respective characters, and some random buildings and decorations have a rare chance to spawn a special character. When these characters spawn, they need to be set up correctly, so I made a base minifig prefab that has the minifig controller class attached and a basic setup function that's called as soon as they're spawned in. This sets the animation controller, base sprite, and basic information like their name and character type. When a minifig spawns in, it gets added to a list that is currently stored in a static manager class, so I can see which minifigs are in the city and limit how many minifigs spawn in at any one time. What I plan to add once the faithful recreation is done is a collection page that shows every type of minifig, how many you've seen, and where they came from. Sort of like a Pokédex, but for people. Is that weird? Anyway, moving on. So I've got a bunch of minifigs that just pop up out of nowhere. Now it's time to have a look at the pathfinding. There's quite a lot of ways I could tackle this with a nav mesh or fixed paths or some form of grid-based algorithm. And hey, wouldn't you know, there's a lot of them that I've already used before. Probably the most common algorithm people have heard of is called A-star pathfinding. It's a very basic but optimal and complete method to find a path from point A to point B. It's been used for about 60 years at this point, and in an oversimplified way, it works by checking all of the neighbor tiles to the start point, giving each node a score based on the distance to that start point, distance to the end point, and then a combined score for the two. It then checks which one has the lowest score and adds it to a list of evaluated or closed tiles. It checks the neighbors around this new tile, scores them, and repeats the process until it eventually explores a path that reaches the end point. By always selecting the lowest scoring open tile, it guarantees that the end result will be the shortest available path, assuming that the path is complete and the endpoint is reachable. Now, I've used this algorithm a few times, including in this project here. This is a prototype for an FTL-style dwarven survival game I made years ago, and for this, I wrote an implementation of A-star pathfinding using Unity's tile map system as the path, so I could draw custom maps and the dwarves would be able to navigate them easily. As there's no point in remaking something I already have, I just imported all of this code into LEGO LOCO. I did have to rewrite a bit of it to strip out the tile map stuff and replace it with the building system that I'm using. But it's not good enough to say that occupied tiles are walkable and empty ones aren't, because the minifigs should only walk along the pathways and not over train tracks or roads for obvious reasons. So, in the object manager, instead of using a two-dimensional array of integers where 1 is occupied and 0 is empty, I changed it up to a letter-based key system. Each tile of a building has its own key code, so E is empty, P is path, T is track, B is building, and R is road. For some tiles like the crossroads, zebra crossings, and bridges, they will have multiple letters per tile, which will allow the different units to cross over each other. And then just give each unit type their own letter to follow along, and they should be able to work out where they're going. At the moment, I've just got a text box in the inspector to fill these in, but ideally I'd like to make a little custom editor tool instead, similar to how the rule tile one works. But custom editor stuff can be a little complicated and might not be worth the effort. So after a while of tweaking all the code, adding all the animation triggers, and fighting weird bugs like this, where the minifigs would all moonwalk around the place, this system was finally finished. I've been building a few test maps for the minifigs to explore, and it seems like everything is working as intended, and it's looking amazing. It's so nostalgic, and having the minifigs in the cities really adds a lot to the project. There's still a bit that I need to do to implement the new key system with the buildings, with layering and odd shaped builds, but I'll get to that at some point. And that is going to do for the development today, but now it's time to throw it over to another edition of Subscriber Wars, and today we've got some super VIPs in the arena. Mark Davis here making his Subscriber Wars debut, and Jake Lee returning once more for a fight. So they're all in position, let's get this battle started. Already seeing a lot of bodies flying all over the place. Mark Davis is getting beaten up by 3 kings there, and he goes down, unlucky. The zone is moving in fast, and already there's barely anyone left. Jake Lee looking to take on Squee there. Does come out on top. He's looking worse for wear and loses his next fight. Rational Bike taking on Hosu there, and Hosu wins it. Just NF left, and they go down as well. Congratulations to Hosu Placencia. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Remember, if you want to enter Subscriber Wars, simply subscribe to the channel, and to become a VIP in the arena, consider supporting me on Patreon or here on YouTube as a member. But anyway, that's going to do for now. I hope you're enjoying this development process as much as I am. I'm super excited to get a playable build of LEGO Loco soon, so keep an eye out for the next devlog. Remember to leave a like and comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!